everyone here tonight and also online. Calling to order the October 25th, 2022 City Council meeting for Daytona Beach Shores. Sherry, can you take a roll, please?
Yes, ma'am. Mayor Miller?
Here.
Vice Mayor Lindauer?
Here.
Councilmember Bryan?
Here.
Councilmember Calamos?
Here.
Councilmember Place?
Here.
Thank you. Reverend Bob, can you lead us in invocation?
As you're able, please stand with me as we pray together. Lord of life, we come together recognizing your goodness and your gracious love. From the rising of the sun to the setting, we see your goodness on display in creation. And as the temperatures dip on these cooler fall evenings, we give you thanks, not only for the abundance of the harvest, but also the abundance of friends and family, of community and neighbors, and the abundance of love that we feel from you. We ask that as we gather in these chambers tonight, that you would be present with your wisdom and your guidance for those whom we have called to lead. We ask that they will be led in good decisions for the benefit of the citizens of this city and all who would come and enjoy its comforts and its benefits. Neighbors, friends, visitors from around the world who benefit from this small piece of paradise that we call home. We thank you for all of these things. We ask that you would guard and guide and protect those in leadership and those who serve this city, especially those in law enforcement and safety. We ask these things in your holy name. Amen.
Amen.
Thank you, Reverend Bob. Please join me in the Pledge of Allegiance.
I pledge allegiance to the flag of the United States of America and to the republic for which it stands, one nation, under God, indivisible, with liberty and justice for all.
Thank you. Okay, this evening we do not have any presentations or public notice, so we will go right on to the approval of minutes. Do I hear a motion to accept the City Council minutes from October 11th, 2022?
So move. I'll second it.
Thank you. Any discussion on those minutes? Okay, if not, Sherry, can you take a roll on that, please?
Vice Mayor Lindauer?
Yes.
Councilmember Calamos?
Yes.
Councilmember Place?
Yes.
Councilmember Bryan?
Yes.
Councilmember Calamos? Mayor Miller?
Yes.
I'm so sorry.
Thank you, yes. Okay, next we'll go on to the consent agenda. We have 4 items on there. Before I ask if anything needs to be pulled, our Vice Mayor noticed on the public safety report that the number of our fire calls, did it triple? Or more than triple? And just wanted to let you know that was all due, if anyone's looking at that closely, that was due to the hurricane. We had a lot of calls during the hurricane. The chief just verified that. So, do I hear a motion to approve the consent agenda as is?
I so move. Second.
Thank you. Any comments on any of those? No discussion? Sherry, can you take a roll, please?
Councilmember Place?
Yes.
Councilmember Bryan?
Yes.
Councilmember Calamos?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lindauer?
Yes.
Mayor Miller?
Yes, thank you. And now we'll go on to the report of our city attorney. Attorney Weiss, what do you have for us this evening?
Yes, thank you, Madam Mayor. Since the last meeting, we've held a conference with staff about the proposed annexation of a property with a history of significant code enforcement and/or animal control complaints, and we worked with staff with regard to that. We provided legal advice to staff regarding the enforcement of the city's noise ordinance, and that related to a matter having to do with a large air conditioning system. We worked with staff on an updated hurricane emergency resolution. With regard to the fishing pier, we conducted legal research on the jurisdiction over the fishing pier that's constructed over the state sovereign submerged lands, and which also goes over part of the beaches, which are under the control of County. And we also talked with the county attorney's office to coordinate that discussion. We reviewed and approved a permit fee waiver affidavit to ensure that the fee waiver savings is passed from the contractor to the customer. We want to make sure that that happened. And we provided a legal review of an engineered life safety system compliance letter for the Department of Public Safety.
Thank you. Attorney Bose, did you get a chance to review the emergency Daytona Beach Shores pay policy that I forwarded you, or that our city clerk had forwarded you?
Yes, I did. It was a very detailed and very well-written policy back from 2017. And it is certainly enforceable.
Okay, thank you very much. So my understanding is, city manager, in accordance with this pay policy, were you able to pay our exempt employees for the hours that they worked during the hurricane?
Yes, ma'am.
Okay, thank you. And did you receive any pay for that?
No, ma'am.
Okay. I believe in Becky and I reading this policy that the city manager did have the authority to pay himself, and
Yes.
knowing him as we do, he did not. And I would like the approval of our council right now, a consensus. So our city manager was here a couple of nights, and I know for a fact the past 2 Saturdays, well, last Saturday and the Saturday before, he did work going out on the beach. And our Lieutenant Governor Nunez was here on Saturday. He accompanied her on the beach, and then 2 weeks ago, someone for FEMA. So I'd like the consensus that we authorize our city manager to add up the hours that he worked outside of his normal during the hurricane in accordance with this emergency pay policy, and to submit his pay for the same pay justification that he did for the rest of the exempt employees. Does anyone have anything to add to that?
No, I agree. I think that should be taken care of.
Yeah, thank you. Councilman Bryan?
Yeah, I don't have a problem with it.
Councilman, okay.
I agree.
Okay, it looks like I have a consensus on that, so City Manager Swartzlander would like you to go back and add up those hours, and then go ahead in the same format that you paid all the other exempt employees, including those 2 Saturdays that you worked.
Thank you. I was not expecting that.
Thank you for what you did.
Yes.
Thank you. Yeah, he did go over it, and Bob, and for those of you who don't know, that Kurt has only been our city manager, well, at the time that this hurricane came, was it 4 months?
Not quite.
Not quite 4 months, so, yeah, so he did an outstanding job along with all of his staff, our public safety. I mean, I can't say enough about everything that they did, how hard they worked for those hours. So if you could go ahead and do that, city manager. And so does anybody have?
I have a question about
Sure.
it. Does that only apply when a state of emergency has been declared?
Yes. So
Okay.
our city manager did declare a state of emergency, and this said not limited to, but it could be riots, civil disorders, epidemics, power failure, hurricane conditions, or similar conditions. And the date of this memo signed by Mike Booker was May 19th, 2017. Okay?
Okay, yeah, I mean, that's, the reason why we call them exempt is that we
Don't
normally pay, and we kind of expect, or at least where I've worked, we kind of expect exempt employees to work more than
Right,
40
exactly.
hours a week.
Except for these emergency
Yeah.
conditions. I did have one other question on something that our city attorney brought up, and I don't know if it's Stuart. Now, since we eliminated the fees for the permits, do you happen to know off the top of your head, or does anyone know how many permits we did come through that we didn't, that we avoided the charge?
I think the city manager was going to speak to that tonight.
Oh, he is? Okay.
It's under my comments.
All right, thank you. All right, if there's no other questions for our
I do have
attorney?
a question on, I don't know whether Becky can answer it, maybe somebody else. What is our noise ordinance? Is it just a dB level? Or?
That was part of the discussion
Yeah.
as to whether that's the best way to go,
No,
or
I mean, what
whether
is
to
it?
plainly.
What
It
is
it
it?
is the decibel.
Do
Yes.
you know what the number is?
I don't, I'm
Does
sorry.
somebody here know what the number is?
It varies depending on the time of the day, but generally for residential areas, it's capped at 55 decibels.
55 dB, and that, is that the number that would apply to the, that particular situation that was complained about?
Again, it depends on the time, and I don't want to steal the chief's thunder, but they have been measuring. I think they've measured at least 10 times since the complaint was made, and it's not even coming close to 50.
Yeah,
Okay, anything else?
no, it's,
Okay, any other questions? If not, City Manager, would you like to give us your report?
Yes, thank you, Mayor and members of the council. So you just talked about a little bit about the hurricane, and the process is still ongoing of recovery. So I'd like to talk a little bit about debris removal. So far, city employees in the initial pass and through our parks have picked up 42 tons of both vegetative and C&D debris.
Would you clarify what C&D is for?
Construction and demolition debris.
Thank you.
And residentially, we picked up 83 tons over the last, I believe it's 3 weekends. We will be doing our final debris removal pass Saturday, November 5th. And then it should go back to Waste Pro picking up any yard waste, that type of material.
And City Manager, I know that you and our Finance Director, Irwin, have been talking to the state, so I understand the Waste Pro. Can you explain for everyone that's listening online as well in chambers, A1A being a state highway, who's responsible for that, and what you and Lori have done?
Okay, yes, so A1A is not our jurisdiction, it's not our street, so we're not supposed to pick up, FEMA won't reimburse us for picking up there. So we have been working with DOT, and they have agreed to have their contractor come out and pick all of that up because it is an FDOT road. They will be doing just one single pass. Unfortunately, they have said they're just waiting for their contractor, so I don't know date and time. I did agree to follow the FDOT contractor and have our employees kind of sweep up and clean up the sidewalks to make sure there's no little debris, because they're only bringing in one of those big claw trucks to remove everything. So our folks will actually be doing the final sweep, so to speak, of that. But I'm hoping that it's before this weekend, but again, we're at the mercy of their contractor, and I have a feeling they're pretty busy across the state right now.
Okay. And does that also apply to, I'm seeing some debris on Peninsula, is that a county road, and that's
That would be county. Now, if it's a parcel on Peninsula that is in the city, and I'm gonna make sure I'm saying this correctly, we are picking up residential parcels on Peninsula if they are in the city.
who's picking up the other parcels?
Should be the county and their contractor. I don't know who their contractor is.
They don't have the November 5th deadline?
No.
Okay, so there will be debris along Peninsula
Yes.
after the 5th?
Yes. All right. Was that it, Madam Mayor?
Yes.
Okay. The next council meeting, I want to remind everybody, is on the 9th, not the 8th, because election night is the 8th, and this room is used for voting. So I also want to remind everybody that is by charter the one night we meet at 7 p.m., not 6. So Wednesday the 9th at 7 p.m. Circling back to hurricane, last Wednesday, the city hosted a meeting for property owners, contractors, with FDEP, Volusia County, and all the coastal cities. And this was an open house, extended office hours for contractors, individual property owners, condo boards to come in and get, I don't know about getting their questions answered about seawalls and coastal erosion, but at least to be given a game plan of how to go about either temporary or permanent restoration.
I would say we had over 100 people there.
Oh, way more than that, I think, yes. And I want to give a special shout out to Nancy Maddox for pulling that together last minute with the county, and FDEP's had a lot of demands about how everything had to be done, and
And I'd like to add on to that, though, and I think city manager alluded to it, but it was not only for the Shores residents. We opened it up to any of the coastal cities. So we had people there from New Smyrna, Ormond, Daytona, Ponce. I think we had one or two from Wilbur as
Yes.
well. So they were all there. It's very hard sometimes to get in contact with DEP, and they had probably at least 8 to 10 representatives from DEP there.
Yes, they did, which is kind of unheard of. So in one way, it was a little bit of a coup for us to get all those folks. They pulled them from Southwest Florida, Central Florida, all over the state, really, to get them all here.
So
And again, I'm not sure people got all the answers they wanted, but I think they left with a clear direction of what they needed to do. The best advice I heard, and I'll pass this along to everybody, is because everything's handled on a case-by-case basis, if you haven't submitted a permit, submit one. Then they will look at your property individually and be able to focus and tell you what you can or can't do, because every property is different, and depending on whether you have neighboring seawalls or no neighboring seawalls, what you can and can't do, or
no seawalls.
or no seawalls, or if you didn't have a seawall but you're within 250 feet on both sides, you might be able to do a seawall. There's a whole myriad of FDEP restrictions and guidelines and everything, but getting that permit in is step one to getting clear answers for your individual property. So to elaborate a little bit further on that, after that, as the mayor alluded, I had the opportunity to meet with the lieutenant governor on Saturday. We had about an hour-long meeting. It was myself, the county manager, Jim Judge, the emergency management director for the county, and a few other county folks. And the county had put together a very nice list of things regarding coastal erosion that we would like to see implemented. And with council's permission, I'd like to ask that the mayor, I've already had a letter crafted, but that the mayor be authorized to sign a letter to the governor requesting the implementation of the county's request and our support of those county items. I had staff review those requests, and they were in support that it would help our citizens in our city. So with council permission, I'd like to go ahead and do that. Have the mayor letter.
Okay, any objection?
It's fine.
Yes.
Thank you.
To piggyback on that, city manager, I know we had a discussion before about representing the city with one person, but I'd also like to ask permission. The county has really gone over and above. And one of the things that I did when I took office was I wanted to improve the relationship that we had with the county. And unfortunately, this is not how this emergency situation, but they have gone over and above, including Daytona Beach Shores, in every meeting they're having, every conversation.
Absolutely.
So I also would like to craft a letter on behalf of the, myself and the council, thanking them for their cooperation, if that's all
Please do
right.
it.
That's a great idea.
Thank you.
Absolutely. Getting down to the permit fees, Mayor. As of noon today, we were up to 61 permits where we have waived the fees in an amount approximating $10,142 and change. Those were 11 building permits, 1 electrical permit, 3 roof permits, 3 sign permits, and the big one, 43 mechanical permits. So people are taking advantage of it, and that means things are getting fixed and cleaned up quickly as well.
Good to hear. Do we have any guarantee that, that the fees were not passed on to the?
So we have no guarantee, but every contractor has to sign an affidavit saying they will pass those savings on to, now we did have to charge approximately $300 worth of state fees. We couldn't waive those, but we did have to collect those. But every one of these has signed an affidavit that they will pass that savings on to the property owner.
Great, thank you.
So are these both business and residential properties?
I'm assuming yes. Stuart shaking his head, yes.
The $10,000 is roughly 1% of the estimated cost of repairs?
Ballparking, yes.
So it's like $1 million of repairs then?
Yes.
And do we have any idea how much is outstanding? That doesn't sound like a high percentage of the total damage that I think we were talking about.
I think we're just starting to really see recovery efforts.
Yeah.
And along that lines, the middle of next month was the original deadline for application for our non-conforming sign grant. We had done that because of trying to get them to get it finished by April of the deadline for the extension. Staff would like to request that we move that to January 1st in light of the hurricane, to allow a few more people to go ahead and apply for that grant. As you know, a large majority of these signs were knocked down during the storm, so demolition's been done on them.
Will that push the April date out?
Right now, no. Just the grant, this is just the grant application deadline.
Do we need a motion on that?
I would.
Yes. 'Cause
Okay, I move we do that.
I second it.
Okay, any further discussion on that? I think that's what we want to do as a city, to take care of our residents, so.
I'm going to vote on it?
Sherry, can you take a vote on that, please?
Sure. Councilmember Bryan?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lindauer?
Yes.
Councilmember Pelagus?
Yes.
Councilmember Condos?
Yes.
Mayor Miller?
Yes.
That's all I had, Mayor.
Okay, thank you. Any questions for our city manager about any of the topics or anything else? Okay, if not, we will move on to old business, and first ordinance is 2022-16. Attorney Vos, can you read that for us, please?
Yes, Madam Mayor. This is ordinance number 2022-16, an ordinance of the City of Daytona Beach Shores, Volusia County, Florida, relating to voluntary annexation of real property located at 2822 South Atlantic Avenue. Short parcel identification number 5327-05-00-0980, together with associated rights-of-way in accordance with Section 171.044 Florida statutes, providing for legislative and administrative findings, redefining the boundaries of the city, providing for legal effect and implementing administrative actions, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, providing for non-codification, and setting an effective date.
Thank you, Attorney. This is a second reading of this ordinance. Is there anyone in our audience this evening that has anything they'd like to say on this ordinance, 2022-16? Okay, if not, do I hear a motion to accept that?
Madam Mayor, could I ask, Ms. Eaton, what property was this? Because we had a whole bunch in the last meeting, and I know one was the subject of some pending code violations. I just want to refresh myself which one this is.
It would be new business D, Councilman, that would be the one that you had asked that we.
So this is not, this is not the subject one?
No, these are the three that we approved last.
Okay.
Okay. Okay, that's what I wanted to make sure. Thank you.
Thank you, Councilman.
I move we approve 22-16.
Second it.
Okay, any discussion? If not, Sherry, can you take a roll on that, please?
Councilmember Bryan?
Yes.
Councilmember Pelagus?
Yes.
Councilmember Condos?
Yes.
Mayor Miller?
Yes,
Vice Mayor Lindauer?
Yes.
thank you. And Noel, do you happen to know if these folks are in the audience today?
I do not know.
Okay. Do we know, is the property owner at 2822 South Atlantic in the audience today? Okay, if not, if you're listening online, welcome to the Shores. We're glad to have you. Okay, next we'll go on to ordinance 2022-18. Attorney Bliss, can you read that for us, please?
Yes, this is ordinance number 2022-18, an ordinance of the City of Daytona Beach Shores, Volusia County, Florida, relating to voluntary annexation of real property located at 3615 Cardinal Boulevard. Short parcel identification number 630205100111, together with associated right-of-ways in accordance with Section 171.044 Florida statutes, providing for legislative and administrative findings, redefining the the city, providing for legal effect and implementing administrative actions, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, providing for non-codification, and setting an effective date.
Thank you, Attorney Voice. And this is ordinance 2022-18, 3615 Cardinal Boulevard. And this is a second reading of this ordinance. Does anyone have anything they'd like to speak about on this? If not, do I hear a motion to accept 2022-18?
Also move.
Thank you.
Second it.
Okay, any discussion? Sherry, can you take a roll, please?
Councilmember Condos?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lindauer?
Yes.
Councilmember Politis?
Yes.
Councilmember Bryan?
Yes.
Mayor Miller?
Yes. Is Ms. Durkin in the audience this evening? Okay, Ms. Durkin, if you're online, we want to welcome you to the Shores. Thank you very much for your interest in our city. Okay, next we're going to move on to ordinance 2022-19, and this is at 105 Broad Avenue. Attorney Voice, can you read that for us, please?
Yes, ma'am. This is ordinance number 2022-19, an ordinance of the city of Daytona Beach Shores, Volusia County, Florida, relating to voluntary annexation of real property located at 105 Broad Avenue. Short parcel identification number 5335-05000260, together with associated right-of-ways in accordance with section 171.044 Florida statutes, providing for legislative and administrative findings, redefining the boundaries of the city, providing for a legal effect and implementing administrative actions, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, providing for non-codification, and setting an effective date.
Thank you. This again is a second reading. Is there anyone in the audience that would like to speak on ordinance 2022-19?
This is not the,
No.
okay.
No, it's not. Anyone that would like to speak on that? If not, do I hear a motion to accept 2022-19?
Also move.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Any discussion? Sherry, can you take a roll on this, please?
Councilmember Politis?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lindauer?
Yes.
Councilmember Condos?
Yes.
Councilmember Bryan?
Yes.
Mayor Miller?
Yes, thank you. And Mr. Tully in the audience today? Mr. Tully, we welcome you in the Shores. Thank you very much.
Welcome to our city.
Welcome. Okay, next we'll move on, Sherry, a quasi judicial hearing. Would you swear in?
Do you want the attorney to read the title?
Oh, I'm sorry, do you want to read the title first?
Yes.
Okay.
Okay, this is ordinance number 2022-22, an ordinance of the city of Daytona Beach Shores, Volusia County, Florida, assigning the GC-RD General Commercial Redevelopment District zoning classification to property generally located at 2616 South Atlantic Avenue. Short tax parcel ID 532200040170, providing modification of the official zoning map, providing for implementing administrative actions, providing for non-codification, providing for an effective date.
Thank you. Sherry?
Anyone that wishes to speak tonight on this item, if you'd please stand up and raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth during this hearing?
Yes.
Okay. Raise your right hand. Do you swear to tell the truth, the whole truth, and nothing but the truth during the hearing tonight?
I do.
Okay, and first of all, before I come in, I'd like to ask anyone on the council if they had any ex parte communications on this particular.
I have not.
No.
Okay, thank you. And who is going to present this to us this evening? Ms. Eaton, thank you.
Good evening, Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members. This is ordinance 2022-22. This is an amendment to change the zoning designation of the parcel located at 532200040170, which is generally located at 2616 South Atlantic Avenue, from the RMF 3 to the GCRD General Commercial Redevelopment District. This is some background information. The property owner is 91 Oneida LLC, which is All Aboard Storage. Andy Clark, who is here tonight. The property size is approximately 0.31 acres. Again, it's really known by that parcel number, but generally located at the 2616 South Atlantic Avenue. You can see on the left-hand side there, it's that vacant parcel in the back of this development that is seeking the zoning amendment. The current zoning is that RMF3, and the proposed zoning is the General Commercial Redevelopment District. The current entitlement of the RMF3 is multifamily dwellings, duplexes, and townhouses, and the proposed entitlement is commercial, more specifically the interior storage facility that is on the 2616 South Atlantic Avenue property today. This is just a location map, again, showing the relationship to 2616. It's just on the west side of Cowlicks, or behind Cowlicks Ice Cream, and then to the east of the Sea Havens subdivision. This is, I say street view, it's actually a parking lot view inside of the parking lot, showing the vacant piece in the back next to, obviously, the Sherwin-Williams and what is typically known as Seahorse Storage, but now will be All Aboard Storage. This is the zoning map showing on the left-hand side the current zoning of RMF3, which is the same brown shade as the Sea Havens townhomes to the west. It is seeking to go to the GCRD, which is shown on the right-hand side in red, which is consistent with that shopping center, if you will. It's not a shopping center, but with that property at 2616. Staff is recommending approval of ordinance 2022-22 as presented. All notice requirements have been met, and the Planning and Zoning Board did hold a public hearing on October 10th, and has also unanimously recommended approval of ordinance 2022-22. And I am here if you have any questions for me, as well as the applicant.
One moment, is this a public hearing that I would open?
Yes.
Okay. I'll open that up first. Does anyone have anything that they want to add to 2022 ordinance? Any questions or any discussion? Okay, Councilman?
Did we get any feedback as a result of the public notices or the planning and zoning meeting from neighbors?
I have had in-person conversation with the owner of Cowlicks about parking, but that is to come with a concept plan. This specific application is for the zoning amendment, and you will see later on today that there is a text amendment and a future land use amendment for the same property or in relationship to the property. But this specific application of an interior storage facility will come back through as a special exception through the Planning and Zoning Board and City Council, and then it will also come through City Council as a site plan, which is where parking and stormwater and specific site requirements will be reviewed.
There were no objections to the zoning change? Okay.
Yes.
Thanks.
And Ms. Eaton, is this correct that between where this is located and Sea Haven, there is a pretty tall cement wall?
There is. I've actually, this is a little bit better of a view of the property. You can see on the west-hand side there is a fence that has basically landlocked this vacant parcel within the 2616. There is no access to a public roadway from this parcel, and yes, there is a wall there.
Okay, thank you. Do I hear a motion to accept application or ordinance 2022-22?
I move we accept it.
I'll second it.
Any discussion? Sherry, can you take a roll on this, please?
Councilmember Bryan?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lindauer?
Yes.
Councilmember Fleitas?
Yes.
Councilman Conlon?
Yes.
Mayor Miller?
Yes, thank you. Okay, next we're going to go on to new business. So this is ordinance 2022-20. Attorney Voice, can you read that for us, please?
Yes, Madam Mayor, this is ordinance 2022-20, an ordinance of the City of Daytona Beach Shores, Florida relating to off-street parking amending the Municipal Code of Ordinances, Land Development Code, amending Appendix G, Chapter 14, entitled Zoning Regulations, by amending Section 14-48, entitled Off-Street Parking and Loading, to establish the minimum required off-street parking spaces for interior storage facility, providing for enforcement and penalties, providing for a savings provision, providing for codification, providing for conflicting ordinances, providing for severability, and providing for an effective date.
Thank you. And this is a first reading, but is there anyone in the audience that has anything to add to this ordinance? Okay, if not, Ms. Eaton?
Good evening again, Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members. Noelle Eaton, City Planner. This is ordinance 2022-20. This is a staff administrative amendment to amend the Land Development Code, specifically Section 14-48.6, titled Off-Street Parking, to establish a minimum required off-street parking spaces for the interior storage facility. Some background for this: in 2012, the City Council passed ordinance 2012-08, which established the interior storage facility use as a special exception, which also had requirements associated with site development. At that time, the existing parking requirement that we had for wholesale, retail, and commercial storage was adequate for the interior storage facility uses that we were seeing at that time. That is not reflective of the current standards. The LDC requires today for wholesale, retail, and commercial storage 1 parking space for each employee, plus 1 space for each 1,500 square feet devoted for wholesale, retail, and commercial storage. I like to think of it as Sherwin-Williams specifically, that they have a mix of retail and then they have a mix of storage. So there's 2 kind of calculations that would go into that specific use, specifically related to storage, and then the retail, which is a different calculation. So as I mentioned, the current standard does not reflect the Institute of Transportation Engineers vehicle parking generation rates for interior storage facilities. Staff has received applications specifically for the future land use, the zoning map amendment, which you've already seen, special exception, and then this text amendment is also supporting the application for 2616 South Atlantic Avenue. The proposed expansion of the interior storage facility would not be able to occur as it's proposed today without this amendment. So this amendment, the Newkirk Engineering has provided a detailed parking generation calculation report that provides the analysis of the ITE manual for the current rates of the interior storage facility. This generation states that at peak weekday hours, that on maximum of 0.17 spaces of parking will be used for 1,000 square feet of floor area. So I've done the short math on the bottom is that 0.17, in order to get to 1 full parking space, we need to multiply it by 6. So that is where we're seeing the proposed regulations. Again, to repeat, the current parking regulations that we have for commercial storage is 1 space for each employee plus 1 space for 1,500 square feet of devoted storage area. We're seeking to propose the amendment to allow 1 parking space for each 6,000 square feet of gross floor area. So that's basically, again, taking the multiply by 6 to get 1 space per 6,000 square feet based on the ITE manual. I've done a pretty generic example of taking a 20,000 square foot just strictly storage facility. At the current standards would be 13.33 spaces, provided the 1,500 square feet, and then obviously for the additional employees, which would require 1. That same example with the standards that we're proposing of 1 parking space per 6,000 square feet would result in 3.33 spaces. We did not seek to include the additional employee in there because the generation rate really takes that into account, that you have less employees related to these interior storage facilities than you did mixing uses together. Again, this is a staff amendment, and we have recommended approval of 2022-20 as presented. The Planning and Zoning Board also held a public hearing on October 10th and unanimously recommended approval of ordinance 2022-20. And I don't know if you have any questions.
Thank you. Do I hear a motion
I'll move. Also move as.
as presented?
Yes.
Okay, do-
I'll second.
Thank you.
Big difference. It's a tough job for the developer, but the rules are the rules.
Any further discussion on this?
Yeah, I'd like to ask, is this modified requirement similar to all the other similar storage facilities in the area?
These new regulations for any future storage that would propose development would meet this calculation requirement.
And I'm talking about existing storage facilities in the end. There are a lot of storage facilities within 10 miles of here or whatever. Are those number of parking spaces similar to this, or are they more or less, or?
Yes, so I believe a lot of maybe other municipalities might have outdated regulations, so this would be the current standard that the ITE has suggested based on the use specifically for the interior storage facility or mini warehouse.
Does that mean they would typically have more spaces than this, the existing ones?
The older ones possibly, yes, because it was a different calculation.
Thank you.
And Noel, this is the first one we have, storage area that we're posing in our area. Do we have any other storage in the shores?
I don't believe so, no, and
I
I
didn't think so either.
Yes.
Okay, all right, thank you. Okay, I got lost where I did we get a motion and a second on
Yeah, we
it?
did-
Okay,
we
great,
did.
all right. Sherry, can you take a roll, please?
Councilmember Politis?
Yes.
Councilmember Conomos?
Yes.
Councilmember Bryan?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lindauer?
Yes.
Mayor Miller?
Yes, thank you. Okay, and now we will move on to ordinance 2022-21. Attorney Boyce, can you read that for us, please?
Yes, ma'am. This is ordinance number 2022-21, an ordinance of the City of Daytona Beach Shores, Volusia County, Florida, relating to comprehensive planning, amending the City of Daytona Beach Shores Comprehensive Plan, amending Chapter 1, Future Land Use Future Land Use Element by amending map L4 entitled Generalized Future Land Use Map 2030, assigning the tourist-oriented commercial future land use designation to vacant property generally located at 2616 South Atlantic Avenue, short tax parcel ID 532200040170, providing for implementing actions, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, providing for non-codification, and providing an effective date.
Thank you, Attorney Boyce. And this is ordinance 2022-21. Is there anyone in the audience that would speak on this? Okay, if not, Noel?
Good evening again, Madam Mayor, Vice Mayors, council members. Noelle Eaton, City Planner. This is ordinance 2022-21. This is an amendment to change the future land use designation of that same property located at 5322-00-04-0170, generally located at 2616 South Atlantic Avenue, from the medium-density residential land use to the tourist-oriented commercial land use. This is the general property information. Again, the applicant is 91 Oneida LLC, which is All Aboard Storage, and Andy Clark. It is approximately 0.31 acres. The current land use is that medium density residential, which allows for 12.1 to 35 units per acre in the land use. The current use of the property is vacant. The proposed land use is the tourist-oriented commercial, which allows for 1.4 floor area ratio, or FAR, and 0 units per acre. So this proposed land use does not allow residential units. The proposed use is the commercial interior storage facility use. This is another location map of the same property, again tucked in behind 2616 South Atlantic Avenue to the east of the Sea Havens subdivision. This is that same street view showing the property tucked back in behind 2616 South Atlantic Avenue. This is the impact summary analysis that was provided in your staff report. And I'm just gonna kind of summarize what is up on the screen. You can see at the top, it does provide a decrease of 10.85 residential units per acre, or residential units total, I'm sorry, and which also is a decrease in the population and public school students. Even the sanitary sewer demand is lowered. There is a demand of 262.9 gallons per day of potable water, which the City of Daytona Beach Utility Department has said that they have capacity to handle the maximum demand. And the property could theoretically generate 15.44 pounds of solid waste, which commercial solid waste is collected by Waste Pro. The city's adoptable limits of service standard for stormwater is a 25-year, 24-hour storm event, which, as I kind of mentioned earlier, that will be reviewed at the time of the site plan application for technical review. There is also an increase to AM and PM peak hour trips. The theoretical max of the land use change could add an additional 846 daily trips with 121.66 AM trips and 85.86 PM trips. Again, this is the worst case scenario and theoretical maximum that this land use. The applicant has shown in the application that they will not be meeting this theoretical maximum, but for purposes of this land use, it needs to be analyzed. They have indicated that the project in and of itself will increase vehicle trips by 28 per day with just 1 AM and 4 PM. So you can see that one is a lot different than 121.66. Newburgh Engineering also provided a hurricane vulnerability zone analysis that indicates that even with the maximum 846 daily trips, that this amendment will not adversely impact the 16-hour evacuation clearance time. This is just the land use map showing on the left-hand side that this property is in the orange-brown as medium-density residential, and it is seeking to go to the red and black polka dot, which is the general GCRD, General Commercial Redevelopment District, again, consistent with the area that it is in today. Staff is recommending approval of ordinance 2022-21 as presented, and again, this was heard at the October 10th Planning and Zoning Board, and they unanimously recommended approval of 2022-21. And I'm here, and the applicant too, if you have any questions.
Thank you. Okay, do I hear a motion to?
I move we approve it.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion on this or any questions?
It's just the enabling legislation for what we're talking about.
Yes.
That is correct, yes.
Is the applicant here?
Yes, it is.
I don't know how far along you are in the planning process. Do you have any idea how many square feet of storage and that kind of thing at this point in time?
Just your name and address. Your name and address. Oh, yeah, sorry. Hi, I'm Andy Clark. I'm the owner of All Aboard Storage. And I live just outside the shores in Daytona Beach, and office in Port Orange, 5111 South Ridgewood, Port Orange. Yeah, our plans are to build a building in the back of the property and to also fix up the front building. I think the plan is about 20,000 square feet of additional storage in the back.
Additional, and then how many square feet would be up at front?
I believe it's like 9,000 square feet existing storage, inside the building. And this, the new building will look kind of like the existing building, like more like an office type yeah, we're looking forward to, also fixing up the property and, bringing it into our all aboard, family. We don't have any, this is the only storage facility in Daytona Beach Shores, and I live like a mile away, so, yeah, we're interested in, making it look better and, being a good neighbor and everything, and,
You have a rough idea of when it would be?
yeah, it probably wouldn't open until 2023. Like, we'll work on it next year, 2024. We'll work on it next year, 2023. And we have like 3 other big projects going on in Port Orange and New Smyrna and Ormond Beach. So as soon as those get done, we'll plan on jumping over to this. But we're already needing to get going on fixing up the existing building because it needs a new roof and it needs to be kind of brought up to our standards and everything.
How many total units will you have, facilities will you have after this is complete?
Yeah, we have about 30 now. They're all all in Volusia County, and we're into Orlando now, and but most of our properties are right here in East Volusia, and we're a family business. I grew up here in Daytona, and we've been in the storage business for 40 years. My father was kind of a pioneer in the storage business, and my daughter, runs our operations and everything, and so yeah, we're looking forward to doing. And we love Sherwin-Williams too. Is an awesome tenant to have too.
Thank you. That's all I have.
Thank you.
Okay.
Here's a question.
Oh, yes, certainly, if you come forward with your name and your address.
Hi, I'm Daniel Nathan, owner of the Cowlicks Ice Cream property next door to this, 2624 South Atlantic. And I have no objections to the zoning change, but however, and I've discussed this with Andy before he purchased the property, his proposed plans encroach my parking easement, and he will not be able to build on that property. The portion of 2616, because he'd be violating the easement. So I don't think his future building plan should be considered in this ordinance until something is worked out regarding the parking easement.
And did I understand, Mr. Cruz, that this is something that will be discussed later on, the parking?
Stuart Cruz, Community Services Director. That is correct. So the details of the actual plan, the concept, in terms of parking, building height, all those specifics that are in our land development code, those will come up and be addressed during the special exception and during the site plan application, which is going to be staggered later on as we continue through this process. This is an entitlement process, so the details in terms of dimensional requirements, whatever have you, those are not addressed at this, typically not addressed at this stage.
So will this affect the parking at Cowlicks?
Yes.
So in staff's professional opinion, no. Not at this time.
All right.
Thank you.
You're saying that the enabling legislation doesn't deal with whatever impact it might have on Cowlicks, and that would be worked out?
So we were made aware recently that there is a private easement agreement between the owner of Cowlicks and the owner, whomever the owner is, of the 2616 South Atlantic Avenue, which is the Sherwin-Williams property. So we understand that there's that private arrangement made, which the city is not a party of. In terms of the enabling legislation that's being adopted that may be passed tonight on first reading, this has nothing, absolutely nothing to do, again, with that easement or with parking. This is just an entitlement, the ability to use the property for a certain use. The property owner may come with a plan, revise his plan that he has drafted already to specifically address that easement that is apparently out there, or he may not. But that is a private document, and I'm going to look at the city attorney and ask for advice on this, but, my understanding is that that's a private arrangement, and as long as they meet the city standards, staff will be in a position to make a recommendation.
And who owns the Cowlicks property?
This is the owner here.
You own the property?
Yes, through a separate corporation, but it's closely held.
Attorney Boyce?
Yes. I want to see all the information in writing before, I would not want to make any kind of a legal opinion.
All right, thank you.
Without seeing it first.
Will that stop us from going ahead and approving this?
I will.
It should not stop this process, no.
This is a legislative action, the special exception and the site plan in which we speak about the details of the parking arrangement, that's a different form of approval, and that's a different process, not the process that we're engaging in tonight.
Okay, thank you. Any other comments?
Just that the proposed building should not be a factor in this approval of the ordinance.
Okay, thank you for coming in.
Totally a separate issue.
Right.
Thank you for coming in. Do I hear a motion to accept 2022 I'm sorry.
We have a motion.
We have a motion, or we are on, there's so many of these. Okay, can you take a vote, please?
Councilmember Bryan.
Yes.
Councilmember Place.
I was going to ask Madam Mayor for a discussion. I wanted to say something.
Yes.
Mr. Nathan and Mr. Clark will obviously have attorneys work out their agreements, their cross easements and things of that nature, and Stuart and our city attorney will get involved. What I want to be clear for everybody here is that this particular ordinance that we're voting on allows the zoning to be consistent with the land use development code. So it's, again, an enabling thing, has nothing to do with the building or the parking or the easements. So I just want to make sure it's clear, so when I do, I will vote yes, because this is basically housekeeping, and planning and zoning has already agreed to it. But I just wanted to make it clear, because it does get a little convoluted.
Thank you.
So I said yes.
Yeah.
Councilmember Cottmos.
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lindauer.
Yes.
Mayor Miller.
Yes. Thank you. Okay, next we're going to go on to item C, non-conforming sign removal. Is this the resolution 2022-11?
That's item E.
Oh, okay, all right. So, so this is just a grant application. Who is speaking to that this evening?
Lots of me tonight. Good evening, Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members. This is another non-conforming freestanding sign grant. We do have 28 non-conforming signs left after Hurricane Ian, and applications are starting to generate more, and I believe you said we had 3 applications for signage. I don't necessarily know if those are non-conforming ones, but we're starting to see them come into compliance.
Can we bring that conversation outside, please? Noel, I'm noticing some of our non-conforming signs, just the face of it was blown out. So they can come in and just, it wouldn't make much sense, but technically, can they come in and just put that, is it the face back in on the non-conforming sign, but then in a few months, they'd have to come back for the non-conforming sign, correct?
That is correct. The previous ordinance that was passed allowed copy changes to occur. Repair and maintenance can no longer occur, but the copy changes of just that panel, if it was blown out, could be replaced, yes.
Thank you. All right, and where's the cost on these for this 2616? How much is the grant, the 2,000?
Yes, so I'll present this here. This is 91 Oneida LLC, which is Andy Clark, all aboard storage. Staff did receive a completed application on October 6th. This land use is interior storage facility and commercial today. The applicant has met all the sign grant requirements. They were provided a quote from Coastline Wholesale Signs and LED Displays for $18,163.33. And they have chosen their preferred sign vendor, Permacraft Signs, which provided a quote of $12,950, which then qualifies for the minimum grant of $2,000, and staff is recommending approval under the condition that the sign meets all the requirements of the sign code and that there are no code enforcement violations on the property. This is a current zoomed-in picture of the sign that's there today, and then this is the proposed sign. I am working with the sign contractor, although it's not going to change the amount. The base of the sign is going to be the same width as the copy area sign, so it will change slightly, but it will not affect the proposed bid or the grant funds.
Okay. Do we hear a motion to accept this?
I so move.
Thank you.
I'll second.
Thank you. Any discussion? If not, Sherry, can you take a roll on this, please?
Councilmember Politis?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lindo?
Yes.
Councilmember Conos?
Yes.
Councilmember Vernon?
Yes.
Mayor Miller?
Yes, thank you. Thank you, Ms. Eaton. And next, we're going to go on to ordinance 2022-17, voluntary annexation. And I believe, Councilman Politis, this is the one that you asked to be postponed to this week.
Yes.
Can you read this for us, Attorney Bose?
Yes, ma'am. This is ordinance number 2022-17, an ordinance of the City of Daytona Beach Shores, Volusia County, Florida, relating to voluntary annexation of real property located at 2820 South Atlantic Avenue, short parcel identification number 532705000971, together with associated rights-of-way in accordance with Section 171.044 Florida statutes, providing for legislative and administrative findings, redefining the boundaries of the city, providing for legal effect in implementing administrative actions, providing for conflicts, providing for severability, providing for non-codification, and setting an effective date.
Thank you, Attorney Bose. Okay, this would still be a first reading, but is there anyone here that wanted to speak on this ordinance 2022-17? Thank you. If you'd come up and state your name, please.
Wrote it all out. I'm Belinda Jenkins, and I own 2820. Last week or 2 weeks ago when we came in, there were several complaints about the dogs. I have 3 dogs in my household. They spend 80% of their time inside my home. They're fully vaccinated and have current licenses from Volusia County issued on May 10th, 2022, and you all have a copy of that. Since the county told me that it was against the ordinance to have a breeding business in Volusia County, we haven't had any further puppies. As far as neutering, the county issued a license for all 3 dogs, which gives me the right to have the dogs in my home unaltered. That is pursuant to County Ordinance 1458. One of the subsections under that code section gives me a right to have the dog unneutered because she is a licensed service dog. There's never been a complaint against that dog because she works with me because I work with autistic children. And she is also my son, who's 19 and autistic. That's his service dog. As far as the unaltered annual permit number 5, litter records were given to the county for the other dogs, and they were exempted from the altering status. They are also members of National CKC Good Dog Organization and were cleared by their vets, and Officer Tony Moriarty gave us clearance to have a license issued. All dogs have been microchipped and they wear Apple tracker tags. Animal Control has a copy of the microchip on file, and they also have the code for the Apple tracker tags. The permits are valid for the life of the dog. No revocations have been issued on any of our dogs. Many complaints were made in the spring and into July regarding one dog in particular. Her name is Macy. She's a sheepadoodle, and we call her Houdini. Macy is so smart that because we have the handle doors that go up and down, she figured out how to open those said doors. She also figured out a way to pry open our pool gate so she could get out. So she has run rampant through the neighborhood. I agree with that. We've done everything in our possibility to rectify that situation. We have installed now a new gate that she cannot open. It's a spring closing gate. She can't get it open. We've also installed silt fence in front of our big fence that the dogs get to go out in sometimes, so they don't see the many folks who walk up and down our street and bark at them. Although, there's never been a complaint about barking, ever. Just Macy getting out. We also have built a 9-foot fence in a special area, and that's the only place that Macy gets to go and potty, because she can't climb that fence. The fence that we put in, the silt fence, goes all the way around, all the way down the side of the property that you guys just annexed in as 2822 South Atlantic, which is my neighbor. Typically, the dogs are in the house unless they have to go potty. They don't go out before 8 a.m. or after 10 p.m. Like I said, no citations have been issued for barking, and all citations have been adjudicated and paid. Because I paid them. My only reason for having my property annexed into the city was for the tax benefits, and because both properties on both sides of me are now in the shores. I have met with and complied with every request from Volusia County Animal Control. Another thing that was brought up last week was we do have a 2-bedroom apartment on that property that was there when we purchased the property. And we have a long-term renter who has a 1-year lease, and that began on June 22nd. Never has it been used as an Airbnb. So, I know that you guys all looked at the complaints and you've made snarly faces and that you were disgusted by those complaints, but we've done everything that we can to fix the issue in the complaints. We have complied with everything the county has asked us to do, and the bottom line is, whether we are annexed into Daytona Beach Shores, which is what we would prefer, or whether we're in unincorporated Volusia County, the dogs are still going to be there. They're still going to bark whenever somebody goes down the street. In the back, they're dogs. They're not vicious. They've never bit anybody. They've never attacked anybody. The only thing she might do is jump up and love on you, but she's never hurt anybody. So, that's my side of the story.
Okay, thank you very much for coming in. Stuart or Noel, do we have anything that we want to add to this from our staff perspective?
Yeah, I can present.
If you would, go ahead, yeah.
I'll run through my presentation of the annexation, which would occur for any property, and then kind of go into what staff has researched since the last meeting.
Thank you.
So this is the subject property. The owner is Belinda Jenkins. The property size is 75 by 186, which is 13,950 square feet. The existing use is a single-family residential, and the proposed use is going to continue that single-family residential use. This is a location map of the property showing 2820 South Atlantic Avenue. It's way easier to see. You can see there on the east side of the property is the green. That is the city limits of Daytona Beach Shores along South Atlantic Avenue. The property is contiguous on what would be the east side, and now will be on the south side as well with 2822 South Atlantic. This is an aerial view of the property showing the residential neighborhood along the west and east sides of the property. And this is kind of a summary. I know the homeowner just explained where she's coming from. This is what staff was able to find between the Volusia County Code Enforcement and the Volusia County Animal Services between August 16th, 2021 and August 18th of 2022. There were 18 cases that were opened due to calls and complaints to the Volusia County Animal Services. Those complaints were from 10 different property owners and or visitors that were visiting the properties from the neighboring properties. 15 of those complaints were regarding unrestrained dogs, 4 regarding puppy breeding and barking, 2 complaints related to a dog bite, 1 which occurred in Seminole County, 1 in Volusia County. And then these complaints did result in 9 recorded charging affidavits with Volusia County Clerk of Court. Staff was informed from Volusia County Code Enforcement that there is an in-progress investigation being conducted for a complaint that was filed on October 17th, 2022 for work without a permit and too many dogs on the premises. They weren't able to give us more information than that, other than they are currently actively investigating it. There is also websites advertising poodle, Bernedoodle, golden doodle, sheepadoodle mixed puppies. You can see those listed there. Those are provided in your reports as well. Staff is, the City Council has some options for tonight's actions. The City Council can approve ordinance 2022-17. They can deny ordinance 2022-17, or you can continue ordinance 2022-17 until a time certain. It could be a year from today, it could be another date that you decide, just to ensure that certain actions have been completed and then continuously demonstrated by the property owner based on the allegations and what staff was able to find. And I will open it to questions, and if Stuart has anything else to add.
Any other questions for Noel or for Stuart?
What specific actions are in number 3?
So staff kind of came up with some ideas, if you will, that the premises is inspected and removal of any kennels that could be on site, removal of the online advertising of puppies for sale, proof of vaccination and tag registration through Volusia County, which she can provide, and then, of course, any other actions that you would deem appropriate as well.
Do you have anything to add to that?
I'm just here to answer any questions.
Any other questions? If not, do I hear a motion? And Noel gave us our 3 different options that we could do. We could approve, we can deny, that does not stop them from applying again, or we can come up with a date certain, and that could be 1 year from today, with proof that everything has been cleaned up. So
Madam Mayor, may I speak?
certainly.
With the investigation that city staff has conducted, I feel very uncomfortable in annexing the house in. And I think the other thing is there are pending open complaints that are being adjudicated by the county and investigations that are being conducted by the county. Let's allow the county to adjudicate the merits of those allegations before we consider annexation. So whether we deny it or continue it, it's the same effect. So, you know, Ms. Jenkins seems like a nice lady, but with so many pending actions and investigations, I don't think it's fair to our staff. We're a small city as compared to the county. They have more resources and abilities to investigate and adjudicate those merits. So I would offer to deny the ordinance for now, and then when the applicant comes in, let's say, with no problems and no issues, and maybe does address some of our requests, then we can reconsider that.
So your motion is for number 2?
deny.
To deny.
Number 2.
I second the motion.
Okay. Any further discussion on that?
Well, I just want to say I would not invite a known troublemaker into my home, and so therefore I will not invite them into our city.
All right. Sherry, can you take a roll on that, please?
Yes, ma'am. Councilmember Plius,
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lindauer,
Yes.
Councilmember Conover,
Yes.
Mayor Miller,
Yes.
Councilman Bryan.
Yes.
Okay, thank you. Okay, next, we're going to go on to Resolution 2022-11. And can you read that for us, please, attentive voice? Do you have the newer updated one?
Yes, I do.
Right.
This is resolution number 2022-11, a resolution of the City of Daytona Beach Shores, Volusia County, Florida, related to temporary signage as a result of the impacts of Hurricane Ian, providing for implementing administrative actions, providing for a duration, providing for a savings provision, conflict severability, and an effective date.
Okay, thank you. And is this a public?
Yes, you should ask for comments.
If anyone has any comments this evening? Okay, if not, Stuart, I think we have an update from what we discussed last week. Could you go over that with us, please?
Thank you, Madam Mayor, Vice Mayor, council members. For the record, Stuart Cruz, Community Service Director for the city. So what you should see in front of you on the dais today is an updated version of Resolution 2022-11, which, if approved tonight, would allow temporary signs for businesses due to damage from Hurricane Ian. So essentially, if approved, this particular resolution would apply to businesses that have lost their identification, wall sign, or freestanding sign on their property. No permit would be required, and there's two options that we're providing. So the package that you saw, the resolution that you saw in your package tonight, unfortunately only had one option, but we've provided two options to make it a little bit more flexible and more amenable to our businesses out there. So the only catch is that the business essentially has to choose one option. They can't go both, select both options. And so these are the options. Option A, which basically would allow a maximum of 2 temporary signs on the property per business. However, you only get 2 if you have your 2 signs damaged, so meaning your wall sign and your freestanding sign. So if you only have your wall sign damaged, you don't get 2 banners or two temporary signs. You only get 1. But if you have your wall sign and your freestanding sign damage, then you obviously get up to 2. So the signs that we're talking about in terms of temporary signage is actually one banner, which would be limited at 32 square feet, and one A-frame sign, which would be 16 square feet per side. So basically, this is what the code allows right now in terms of square footage for banner signage. The temporary signs, however, under this particular option, would have to be removed by April 7th, 2023, which is essentially 165 days. The reason why that number isn't an even number is because on April 12th, the non-conforming sign amortization period ends. In other words, if you have a non-conforming sign, you have to remove it under the city's code by April 12th of that particular year. So the second option is option B, which would allow only 1 temporary sign. However, with this temporary sign, the business would be able to go up to 100 square feet in terms of the banner size. In this case, the banner would have to be removed by January 9th, 2023, which is basically 77 days, which is a little bit less than around half of what option A would have. So staff has spoken to at least one property owner, one business owner, and I think we're going to get support from the businesses on this. We have done everything that we could in terms of the language in the resolution, the revised language that you see before you tonight, to work with the businesses to make it as easy as possible to accommodate the situation that they're currently dealing with in terms of the hurricane damage to their freestanding and wall signage. If there's any questions for staff, I'll be happy to take those.
First of all, I want to commend you on working with the staff. I think when you presented it last week, there was a little bit of pushback that we want to do a little bit more for our businesses. We had a business that came up that had a unique situation. So again, instead of just dropping it, I appreciate that you and your staff went back, looked at it, and came up with different options. So thank you.
The mayor stole my
I'm sorry.
little speech, but no, I agree. I'm glad because we do want to work with the businesses, and I'm glad that you were able to work out the compromise. Congratulations on that.
And go ahead and Steve, and of course, the city manager as well.
Okay, any other discussion on that? And do we have to take a vote on this?
Yes.
Okay. A motion?
Motion is second and a vote.
I'll second it.
Thank you. Any other discussion? If not, Sherry, can you take that roll, please?
Specifically, what was the motion?
Okay,
To approve the
Resolution.
temporary signage?
with the
for
two
February.
different options.
Now, if,
With two different options.
yeah, correct. Is there,
So the resolution, the motion would be to approve resolution 2022-11 as
Presented.
basically.
and I will so move.
Okay, and did we have a second?
I'll second it.
Okay. Councilman Bryan, do you have any other discussion?
No.
That's okay. Sherry, can you take the roll on that, please?
Yes, ma'am. Councilman McComas?
Yes.
Vice Mayor Lindauer?
Yes.
Councilman Flies?
Yes.
Councilman Bryan?
Yes.
Mayor Miller?
Yes, thank you. Okay, we'll go on to council comments. Councilman Bryan, do you have anything for us this evening?
No, I don't have anything.
Okay. Vice Mayor?
No, I don't have anything, thank you.
Okay, I don't have anything except again to thank Nancy Maddox for arranging that very valuable session we had last time. And Nancy, would you like to tell them about what's going on Saturday night?
We have our food trucks, and the band is going to be Pack Rats Men of the Swamp. It'll start at 4:30 to 8 p.m. The band is local, and they do a lot of blues and jazz, and we're encouraging everyone to dress up in their Halloween costume.
Sorry, I do have a
Okay, and wait,
comment.
special note, remember now, our concerts are always on Friday night except this one. This one will be Saturday. Yes, Vice Mayor?
Yeah, I did want to compliment the public safety. Whatever you did scared the truckers, and it was a non-event. I did not hear a single horn or loud music or see any black smoke. So whatever you did worked.
Thank you, Vice Mayor. I did get a report that at one time there were 7 of them here, so we'll work on it.
Yeah, okay, we'll get it down. Councilman Conway?
No comments.
Okay, Councilman Plitus?
Oh, all right, well, I read this comments, so I thought I'd give respect to Mr. Jennings and respond. Is that appropriate, or you want me just to wait? It's quite pleasant.
Okay, and I'm sorry, what are we referring to?
This handout,
The letter from the former mayor regarding the charter amendments that was emailed out to everybody last week.
I don't know, I went through and I read it and I said, you know, we have vetted the public. We have social media, they have access to our city council meetings via the website, the Pelican, mayor and coffee hour you have all the time and access to all of us. So
I just want to point out too that we had Attorney Vos come to our meeting to specifically go over.
So we've given that information to the community, they have access to the information. And then I go on to say, you know, why is the difference between city council and city commission? We had that public discussion and we said we wanted to be consistent with other cities where they label their councilmen commissioners. And that's the reason for that change. But I wanted to let everybody know that, you know, we do our best to let everybody be educated and informed. You can come to the meetings, you can appear and stay in your home. And so I think I kind of addressed all the items. I just want everyone to know that these will be, I guess, items on the ballot for us to look at.
Yes.
And so if anyone has any questions, let's say you have a mail-in ballot, you just pick up the phone and call any of us, and we'll be more than happy to explain as best we can. And if you're gonna go there and vote and you don't know what to do, just step out and then call somebody and we'll be more than happy to guide you through it. But I think that this, you know, day and age with all the access to information from various sources and all of us being available to answer any questions, I think everyone has been fully vetted to know what we're doing with these amendments, and there's nothing that is underhanded or devious. This is all just a matter of housekeeping, to be honest with you. So I just wanted to say that.
Thank you.
I wanted to give Harry the respect because I think he's entitled to an answer, and I wanted to go through it and provide it.
Okay, and, the one comment here, do we not desire to have an informed public? I think all of us, I especially, since I've started, have bent over backwards saying, is there any comments anyone wants to make? Have coffee with the mayor once a month and just say, what questions do you have? Full transparency. So absolutely, we want an informed public. So thank you for bringing that up, Councilman.
You're welcome.
Okay, so next we'll go on. Is there anything, I don't have any comments from the audience. Again, I always open it up, even if you didn't fill out a form. Is there anyone else that, do you have something? Okay, so what I'm gonna ask you to do is say your name and address, and then when you're done, there's a form in the back, if you could fill that out and add it to our city clerk for our records.
Sure.
Thank you.
Thank you. My name is Joanne Dalton at 502-2917 South Atlantic Avenue. And I just wanted to thank the city and the Department of Public Safety for the great seminar, free seminar that we had this afternoon on scams and fraud prevention, of course, not doing it. Yes. So I just wanted to thank everyone because it was really appreciated from, it seems, everyone who was there, and I appreciated it, and I'm going to recommend to my police department to do the same thing up in Canada.
Thank you so much. I was there this afternoon, and it was a very good, opened it up to questions. Again, our wonderful partners at Chase Bank were there to help along too. So thank you very much for that compliment.
So thank you also to Detective Sergeant Jessica Long and Kelly.
Yes.
Registered,
Yes.
the crime analyst.
We appreciate it. A lot of times they come up here not so happy with us, so thank you for that. We appreciate it.
Thank you very much.
What items do we have for the next agenda? Okay, if not, this meeting is adjourned. Thank you for coming.